when I pass in the street. Bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mile High Sports Symposium. Yeah, I can't speak today. What's up, man? Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. I'm one of your hosts, JT Matthews at JTMatthews01 on the Twitter, and I'm here with Dr. Nicholas Manning at Dr_Manning on Twitter as well. Doc, how you doing today? How you feeling? Happy Wednesday.
Yeah, man. I'm feeling pretty good. Weather's starting to creep back up. Gonna take the kids to the mountains for the first time this weekend in a while. And we all are going to learn how to ski, which I have never done and have no idea how that's going to go. None of us have. My wife hasn't skied, so she's snowboarded. I think the only person is maybe Haley, my oldest daughter, did a ski lesson. I also haven't been on a mountain since 2021 in sledding or skiing or anything. So I'm going to hurt like hell.
Yeah, for sure.
Coming back for Super Bowl Sunday, but excited about that. How are you, man?
I'm good. We had a little outing this morning to our preschool classroom.
Yeah.
Donuts with dad, or donuts and dad, something like that.
Yep.
It was good. It was nice.
Do they know us, or do they know us? Right? Like,
yeah, mine told me my first name was Uncle Jared, so yeah, that's great.
That is very true.
On his little sheet, I'm like, yeah, well, that's what your cousins call me, but that's not my actual name.
Yeah,
so
that's not my. That's not true. Like you said, like really though, that's the context in which he knows your name is from his cousins calling you Uncle Jared, because his brothers don't call you Uncle Jared.
No. And everyone just calls me that otherwise. So.
Yeah. How old were you on your sheet?
40. I mean, it's pretty 13. Close.
Whoa, I was 13.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I mean, you look close.
Early pubescent period. That's not going to be weird.
Right. You're a little young to have that many children.
Yeah.
I'll just say that. Well, it was fun. Enjoyed it.
It was great.
And then now let's talk sports. So what's better than that?
Literally nothing.
Okay, I was wondering if you were going to come up with something good, but
I mean, donuts to sports, like.
Yeah, solid day.
Yeah, so I could go to sleep about when we're done. Maybe give like 15 minutes. I mean, I have nothing else to accomplish today. So
100%.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk. I don't know where you want to start. Let's talk NBA. I want to start with the Nuggets.
Okay.
And we're going to talk a little bit about the trade deadline that comes up tomorrow. We're going to talk about a little bit about how the Nuggets are doing. So let's start there and just say Nuggets are a 3-game win streak. Most recently, who they just beat? I watched it. I don't even remember right now. Oh yeah, Pelicans. They played Pelicans again tonight, I think.
Yeah, the traditional home and home back-to-backer.
Yeah, of course.
Which I think is actually probably better to do it, even like for the away team. Like you just fly and like you stay, as opposed to like you fly and fly.
Yeah, maybe. I
don't know. Who knows?
Probably depends on the location.
Not based on any research or insight at all. It's just
pure
speculation. Man yells at clouds.
So yeah, on a good momentum right now. 3-game win streak. That was without Westbrook and Aaron Gordon last game. They're holding them out due to some injury concerns, kind of maintenance for Aaron Gordon. Russ, I think it was a little shoulder issue. I think Najee got a start and showed some. I wouldn't say flashes, but showed some value. If we're getting closer to that trade deadline, maybe it was good for him to get in there, hit 2 threes, was pretty good around the rim. He guarded Zion Williamson primarily, and Zion is coming back off injury, so it's not 100%, but he did a nice job limiting Zion's chances.
Yeah, that's how he played. So question then. So I think we all know it's a little bit of an audition to see if you can move him. I think for the player and the team, he was probably promised a better role and when he signed that deal, and Malone doesn't want to play him, and so I think that said, when you watch him the other night, like he's serviceable rotation guy. Every time I've seen him play,
sure.
like he's not awful. He's athletic enough, can hit the three. Like, what do you give me why is he not playing basketball?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm not sure what the answer is. I haven't heard much negative about Zeke from from the coaching staff or the front office or anything like that. I wonder if it's a mental toughness thing. Mike said after the game, Michael Porter Jr. said after the game yesterday, like, Zeke's the hardest working guy in the gym. He's always out there getting shots, working on his game, and so I'm glad he got an opportunity. I think Zeke actually could be a decent player in this league. I think he could be a role player, a depth player, maybe not a starter.
He could be a 12 to 15 minute like secondary big, right? I mean,
I think so.
Every time I see him, I'm like, yeah, why isn't that guy playing? Like, why?
I mean, he's pretty athletic too. It's not like
DeAndre Jordan or like you're just. I mean, sometimes coaches like dig their heels in. And mind you, I love Malone. I do not want to be post Malone because I want him to stay here as a coach. But it's still like question to question. Still like, come on, bro, come on.
Yeah, it is odd. I wonder if it's just kind of the little things. I don't necessarily think he's a good screener. It's a really big thing for the bigs in Denver to be good screeners. I don't know that he is always knowing where to be on the court. It is probably hard to play probably easier to play alongside Jokic. I'd say Zeke to me it probably feels a bit more like a stretch four or something like that. A guy who can who can have some defensive versatility, can get some shots from the outside, and can knock them down on occasion. But I think the biggest selling point for him is his defensive versatility. If he gets switched onto a guard, he's not going to get absolutely cooked every time.
Right.
He's athletic enough to, to get a good contest at the rim, sometimes get a block shot. So I think that there's value there. I don't know how much value other teams' scouting departments are going to see in him as opposed to just a young guy that you could go draft, even maybe a second round or late first round guy. Yeah. So are you willing to give up a pick? Are you willing to give up?
Would you be willing to give up 2 2s if you're, I don't know, any team? Would you give up 2 2s for Zeke?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably something to him being part of that championship team, understanding what it takes to win. But, again, his role and impact have been minimal, so it's a questionable thing. I don't know. The problem is the contract number. It's not the athleticism. It's not the ability to play. I think it's just that number that was inflated, I think, in hopes that he would be a tradable asset at some point, and he just hasn't really turned into that. So you've got to find some way to incentivize someone to take him, and that's hard. That's hard when he's not getting consistent playing time. Maybe he'll show up again tonight and put together a nice little package, but it's probably a little late on that end. So you kind of think about, all right, what does that mean for the Nuggets in the trade deadline? If you're going to have to move Zeke, then are you going to have to move someone else with them, a prospect that you like, one of these young guys that has some more upside or has shown some more flashes? I think that's a possibility. So we will have to see what that looks like. What's your take on the Nuggets right now? How are you feeling about this team? Do you feel like it's a team that can still win a championship? Do you think they need to make a move tomorrow? Just kind of what's your overall feeling on this team right now?
Yeah, I think assuming health, do they need? No. I think that they could, if they're healthy, I think they could stand back. So if there's not a deal that you feel really good about, I don't think that you have to. That said, if they want to win an NBA championship, I think they do. And I think you need a 3-and-D guy.
Yeah.
Like we've talked about, they don't need a superstar. They don't need Kevin Durant or all that stuff. Of course, KD would be nice. That'd be dope. But, a guy that really can help on the perimeter and play defense, ideally maybe even a guy who, could play 1 through 4 maybe. And as a consistent threat from three. I think you have offense isn't the problem. I think that you want a guy that can hit threes just to keep floor spacing. But really, we've seen when the rendition even of this team, when they play good defense, they win.
Right.
The offense is going to happen, but when they decide to play defense, so I think getting some emphasis on the defensive end, that to me would be a benefit. I think you have guys like Peyton Watson, who, at times is the best defender on the floor for sure. I hope maybe he grows into it, but he also would be a piece I would be okay trading to maybe get a more veteran version of him. And if you can move out Dario and Zeke, even just one of them, maybe with a Peyton Watson, and get, someone that I think can really come in and contribute. So if they don't make a move, I won't be upset, but I'll definitely either know that Calvin Booth won't be back.
Yeah.
He's last few months of his deal and not making a trade because maybe he's not incentivized to help out, if he's heading out, or he's inept or the front office isn't making a push. But you can't see the Lakers getting Luka, Fox going to San Antonio and say, no, we're good.
Levine going to Sacramento.
I mean, even that, right? So Fox is a really good younger player, and they got, the Kings got back a guy who's playing really, really good basketball that we've all talked about, maybe re-kick the can on that conversation. So I think if they want to win, and not just do well, have a good showing, but I think now that you've won a championship, you have the best player in the world on your team, you got to try and get a couple. And to me, I think the message would be, we think we're good enough, or maybe the piece that we want to trade, we can't. And that's Jamal Murray. And so it might be, let's play it through, run it through 25 and try and see if you can make a big move when you're able to trade, Murray or Gordon, which I don't think they trade Gordon, but here we are. What do you think? And anyone out there that in the task that I gave you?
So I think the Nuggets probably need to make some sort of move. I don't know that you can beat. I think you can beat most teams in the West in a 7-game series. I don't know you can beat Oklahoma City right now, and that it's a tough team. I don't even know if making a move right now would make you a favorite in that.
What do you think it would take to be a team that you would feel good about being a?
I think they need some scoring depth. It's consistency and scoring depth. I think they need, maybe one more guy behind Gordon and Jokic to come in and play good defense and be a threat to score off of the bench. It's hard right now because I think that you have some decent guard play. I think that there are guys. Between Jamal and Westbrook. Even if you take Westbrook out in the starting rotation again, put Christian Brown back in, I think that it gives you some versatility to kind of play Christian at the 2 or 3. I think what you're missing is kind of someone to match up defensively against a good 3 that is maybe a little bit of versatile that could play a guard position. But that is a consistent scorer. Peyton Watson, you could slot in there and could play defense against those guys, but you worry about his offensive productivity if you do that. Julian can score, but maybe can't play the defense. And so if you could find someone who's kind of consistently, maybe not great at either, but can score, from behind the arc and can play defense in a pinch, to slot in there, I think that's a valuable thing. But it's tough right now. I think that you're limited unless you move Michael Porter Jr. There's not really many options for you. And so you've got to figure out a way to kind of manipulate your situation. And with so few draft assets, it's difficult.
I have a question for you.
Sure, yeah.
If for some way, shape, or form, Utah was willing to take Dario Saric, Zeke, and maybe your whatever the next one you can offer, or or Julian Strother, for instance, for a player like Jordan Clarkson, who I think has got brought up a bit. I think a really good role player, shoots well from three. It's a good free throw shooter. So a guy that you can have in crunch time minutes in the playoffs and feel like he's not going to lose you for a doink. Would a move like that be meaningful? Is something, because I agree with you. I think the only real deal they can make is something in this ilk of is a sixth man, seventh man, like you said, a bench scoring. Would a guy like that or a move like that be interesting, or do you think maybe that's redundant and that's not, that's kind of not where you would want things to go?
I have mixed feelings on it. I like it. I like the veteran presence of Jordan Clarkson. I like he's going to be a sure scorer. He's going to be a consistent scorer for you. His ability to score beyond the arc and even get in the paint, and his maneuverability with the ball in his hands is good. Again, I don't know that you necessarily see him as a defensive plus, so you'd have to really be willing to give that up, or give up the idea of bringing that in. I would assume at that point that you are probably starting Russ the rest of the season then, and you just have to be okay with that. I don't know that you bring Russ and Clarkson off the bench. I don't know if that works. Maybe it does. I mean, but you would have to expect Jordan Clarkson to play more of a shooting guard role, which he can do, but I think he's kind of a ball dominant guard off the bench and likes to have the ball in his hand and likes to work within the flow of the offense and kind of facilitate when he can. So, I mean, you'd be adding more depth to that guard group. I don't know if that's exactly what you need, but you do need the scoring. Yeah. So, I mean, you're not really giving up potential future of Julian Strother in that case, potentially. Right. I think Julian will be a player in this league. I don't know what his ceiling is. And I think Clarkson potentially could already have a better ceiling. So there's definitely some hit and miss. I don't think you're giving up too much to bring him in, so it doesn't hurt me. I don't feel badly about it. Sure. But I don't know if it takes you over the next hump to get to that competitive.
Yeah, because I think I looked at, you could match up some trades with Zeke and Dario for Kelly Olynyk, who is a good vet big. Let me see, what is he averaging? He's averaging 52% from the field, 47.5 from three, almost 80% 3-point or free throw shooter. That would have been great if it was 3-point shooter. I meant free throw shooter. And so obviously provides you 6'11", smart cat, knows how to play basketball. Yeah. Something like that, maybe more in the ilk, since it's not repetitive in skill set, but a guy that can hit the three, play some D, probably can play along Jokic and sub. So
I like that better. I've liked Olynyk offensively since he came into the league. Basically, I think you worry again about defense, but at that point, if you really need a big that can play defense, you're just going to bring Gordon in to be your backup five anyways. So you could probably play them alongside each other and be okay. Olynyk's good enough from beyond the arc that he could hang kind of on that perimeter and be a scorer if needed in that bench rotation. I would be more in favor of that. It gives you a little more size, not necessarily more defensive presence as far as like help defense or athletes, but definitely adds a layer of, other teams are going to have to, you can't guard him with, a three necessarily. He has enough offensive bag to kind of get to the rim and score if needed. So I like that better. Seeing the Nuggets are interested in Cody Martin. He's a wing for Sacramento. His brother played for the Heat, I think. It was Caleb Martin that played for the Heat. Yep. Maybe both of them. I don't remember. Martin.
Yeah.
And then they also like Yabusele, who is someone I'm interested in, but for the Sixers, who's a backup big. He's I think like 6'8", 6'9", like 285. If you haven't seen him play, he's on the French national team for the Olympics. He's a lot of fun. He was someone who could back up Aaron Gordon, probably do a pretty good job. He could probably play backup center if you needed him to. Surprisingly athletic for a guy as big as he is.
All right.
I mean, I think when we played him last, I think he hit like 5 or 6 threes on Yoke.
Of course it is.
So like he's a guy who can score. He's a guy who can. He's going to be stout in the post if nothing else. If he's not going to be, necessarily fleet of foot. But both of those guys are guys I'm interested in. I made a little trade, and I don't know. What's that?
So what'd you get?
Okay, so I did.
Hold-ups.
I did 2 trades actually to facilitate one. So I had a trade scenario where I traded Julian Strother to the Sacramento Kings.
Okay.
For Doug McDermott and a 2nd-round pick. I don't think you're super excited about getting Doug McDermott back. However, he's a shooter. He's someone that you could kind of plug into that bench unit and may be able to even plug into the starting unit if you really needed shooting at the end of the game. And mostly I did it to get that 2nd-round pick because I feel like if you're going to trade Zeke, you're going to need to facilitate a trade. You're going to need to be able to move him and have something that's a little bit of a kicker. So I used that 2nd-round pick. I'm trying to remember. I did that 2nd-round pick, Zeke and Chanchar, I think.
Okay.
For the Washington Wizards back, Jonas Valanciunas.
Okay.
As a backup center. Not super exciting moves, but something that gives you more of a veteran presence. Someone to back up Jokic that isn't DeAndre Jordan. No offense to DeAndre Jordan, but Valanciunas is a more
all of the offense
player. Okay, fair. But he's a more complete backup center. He can probably give you more valuable minutes, especially down the stretch to keep you in games. And then in the playoffs, I think he would be and no one's a good Jokic replacement, but from a size and scoring standpoint, he can fill in that gap for a little while, and you're not going to miss too much. So more depth moves there. You're giving up Strother, you're giving up some young talent. I really didn't want to give up Peyton Watson. I think that his defensive upside is higher than Strother's offensive upside, so I would have rather kept Peyton Watson. So that's why I didn't move him. But it gives you a little bit of shooting, a little bit of depth on that bench, some veteran guys to kind of come in and kind of clean up that bench unit. So maybe there's a little more continuity. And then again, like someone like Doug McDermott, you're not really jumping up and down excited for. But we played the Sacramento Kings in that 4th quarter. I think he hit 5 or 6 threes against us. He still shows the ability to shoot the ball, and he's going to be cheap. So you decide if you want to bring him back next season.
Right.
You're going to be able to do that on a probably a pretty minimum contract. And if you decide to move on, you move on. And that's all that. That's all that is to that.
I like it. Yeah, even just to show the players that we want to win. And none of those moves I would say make them a perennial favorite or what have you. But hey, you know what? We're taking a swing. And
we're doing something, right? Like not just sitting pat.
Yeah.
I mean,
we all see that there are limitations to this team without taking at least a college try, good old crack at it. I don't know. If you're a player, maybe it's a vote of confidence that they still believe that but the guys in the locker room also know, not all these dudes are playing well. It might be a good idea for us to shake things up a bit. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to them moving Michael Porter Jr. But I don't think you have to make that move today. The market's got to be right. You can't just move him for Jimmy Butler. I don't think you gain anything there necessarily besides some maybe mentality. But you kind of brought on Russ to do that job. I think it's kind of bringing in Russ and Jimmy Butler kind of feels slightly redundant. I think Butler's a more complete offensive player. I think he's a dog defensively, but not necessarily, at his age at least, not necessarily the same kind of defender he was previously. So I don't know. I'm not in a hurry to move MPJ for someone of that, like an older superstar necessarily.
Yeah.
I'd rather move him for multiple depth
Yep.
pieces that are young and give your fast break offense an advantage, someone who can kind of move in transition, something like that. But I don't think they have to be. And again, maybe this year's just not your year. Maybe you're setting up for next year and have some opportunities to get some guys off the books then. So I'm curious to see what they'll do. Wouldn't be surprised to see any at this point. I mean, after Luka Doncic gets traded, there's no surprises left really. That's going to be any bigger than that, unless it's Giannis or Jokic or someone of that caliber. So time will tell.
Yeah.
I want to talk.
Let's transition.
Yeah, let's briefly hit the Avs. Avs lost last night to Vancouver. Got shut out. I think what we're finding, the Avs need some scoring.
Yeah,
it's
weird to say.
Yeah, it is. It is odd to say. I mean, when you've had McKinnon and Rantanen for so long, the scoring depth isn't quite as apparent, I think, as it is right now. Netchus has been a good addition for that first line and looks to fit with that first line pretty well. But I think there's still some forming to do there.
Yeah.
At this point, I think they need scoring, and I don't know that they have it or enough of it moving forward. I talked about some depth defense. I'd still like that, but I think right now you got to get the puck in the back of the net, and it's something that is really feast or famine with this team.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was 0-0 going into the third. So, it's Blackwood, essentially, third one's a empty netter, but it's back-to-back shutouts and 2 goals against. Like, you should be boat racing people. And it's a little frustrating when you get there and some of the pieces again aren't doing it. Maybe it was just a rough night. But if that was the only move, so if Rantanen was moved, and I'm not even like upset with the get backs. I think both kids have played pretty well. But again, they're still 2 lines deep, in my opinion. Maybe you could make an argument for 3, but if we move Rantanen and we don't use that $6 million to bring in some more playmaking or some scoring, and really, I think guys that can, are good 2-way additions, so they can play on the third line, and you feel like you match up that way, especially when you get in postseason. There's your bench shrinks even. And so you're not gonna get many freebies from the other team in the Stanley Cup playoffs. They'll be trying their best, their best rotation possible. Guys get extra minutes in the playoffs. It's that kind of mentality. And so I really hope that they make one. I also think some guys just step up. I think Casey Middlestad, Logan O'Connor, Miles Wood, Lehkonen, who, to be honest, has been great when he's been healthy. But there's an opportunity to be the next Rantanen, and he's gifted enough. But Druin, I think hasn't played particularly well as of late. So you're really looking for some guys to come in and either pay or play to kind of what the expectation has always been, or they got to bring in again some quality depth, and I don't mean like fourth line enforcer guys. I mean, guys that can score 15-20 goals in a season. And good part about it is, again, like basketball, second, third, fourth round picks, especially with the couple that they got in return for Mikko, that can get you a good player. I talked about it before, and I think we brought up, Devon Taves had for 2 seconds. So you can get a really good player without coughing up a ton. And now with the cap relief that ideally you're getting from Rantanen, there, it shouldn't, those 2 guys coming back aren't enough.
Right.
But if they can bring a third guy in to kind of fill the salary equivalent, a 3-for-1 or a 4-for-1 deal, that's kind of what you're hoping for, because you're not going to get the same level of talent back when you trade a superstar. So I like, at least I like actually what the team's done defensively. I think they've kind of gelled a little bit and played pretty well. And so, yeah, it seems like a little bit of a cold streak brewing. So let's hope it's short and not an avalanche,
I see what you did there. Bruin and Avalanche, maybe a Bruin trade to the Avalanche.
Well, I wonder what's brewing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just think they're going to have to do something. I think at this point, I would be surprised and a little disappointed if they didn't try and address some of the scoring issues they have. There's some guys out there that you could look at, and now, like you said, with that $5+ million freed up, you can move out a few guys that are lower contract guys, the same Malinsky. Even if you wanted to, you could move a middle stat and try and see what you can get of a more top end second line center. I think that name Middlestat's been thrown out quite a bit the last couple weeks or so.
Yeah.
I haven't heard it as much, but Nazem Kadri's up there on the trade block right now. Someone that you could bring in that's familiar with the team. That he enjoyed his time here. So maybe someone maybe
that would be an instant click, right? Like that's
oh yeah. You could probably put him on that top line if you really wanted to, too. Yeah. Josh Norris for the Senators, they're talking about moving him. He's a productive center iceman for them. Chris Kreider is a bit older, but he's a scorer. He's a left wing, someone that you could probably bring in. Fortunately with that trade, like it is the benefit of moving off of a superstar is you move and you get some cap space. So it's not like the Nuggets where you're really strapped and you have to match salary exactly to bring someone in. At this point, you have a little bit of flexibility. So to bring in someone that has a little more top end talent or ability is more realistic now than it was, a couple of weeks ago. So I think they need to keep their eyes open. Yanni Gord, who's another guy who his ice time has fallen. His productivity hasn't been great, but he's lost some play time in Seattle. Maybe it's something he would just be rejuvenated from a move. So there's a number of guys. Brandon Tanev, same with in Seattle as well. There's a lot of guys up on the block that I think could offer this team something that they are missing. So something to keep an eye out for the Avs. I think there will be a move, at least one, if not more. And I think the pain, it can't get any more painful than it's been trading Rantanen. So unless you're moving off of a guy like Kale or McKinnon or maybe Taves, everyone else is just kind of a piece to be moved at the moment. And so we'll see what they do with that flexibility and see if they try and come out swinging, or if they're happy to kind of move into the season with that cap flexibility for free agency.
Yeah, no, got to make a deal. And like you said, there's some good players. BetGM, MGM, Casey Middlestad was the power rankings of the trade targets left was 4th. So it's a little bit of like, oh wow,
yeah.
There's some pretty solid names, and Middlestad maybe some other team would want to take a risk and what he's capable of doing. But yeah, there's some guys who I think raise the floor at least if they don't raise the ceiling.
Well, yeah, and I mean Middlestad's 26. He's got 30+ points on the year. Only 6 goals though, and so like if a team needs a facilitator, Middlestad's great at that. But right now, unfortunately, we need scoring and not facilitating. So I think that if you can find a guy around that age that is more of a scorer, less facilitator, and you want to do some sort of swap, maybe if that includes a few draft picks, like go for it. But I think that there is value in Middlestad. Even though it hasn't worked out the way that we had hoped it would work out when we traded Bowen Byram, he's still valuable to a number of teams in the league. So it's just a matter of finding something that you feel is equitable for both teams.
Yep.
And in our front office, I trust the front office. I trust Sakic, McFarland. I think that they'll do a nice job. They always do seem to do a nice job in free agency and near around the trade deadline. So I don't expect anything different this season.
I agree.
Funny breaking news, not really breaking. I mean, it is breaking news because it just happened. Jonas Valanciunas was traded to the Kings.
To who?
Another team, the Kings, the Sacramento Kings, for some guy I've never heard of and two second-round picks. So I don't think I was too far off in my evaluation. I'm just saying.
Come on. Come on, guys. Come on.
But we'll have to target someone else in the next one. So.
All right. Well, back at the drawing board, I guess.
Yep. I mean, timing was okay. At least I beat it to the trade. I was there before the trade.
Hey, you're on
down.
it. Yeah. Hey, it's a guy that I think will get moved, and he'd be great here. Bam. Shams bomb.
Shams. Good old Shams. All right, let's talk Broncos. I'm going to let you take the lead on this one because I know you've been looking at the roster construction. You've been looking at the offseason moves they could make, and nice. Want to know how you're feeling about the Broncos. We're also going to talk about some mocks. So I'm just going to kick it off to you, man.
Yeah, it's been an interesting kind of rumor week. So the Broncos have lost quite a bit of coaches and front office folks. Really, only 2 moves were initiated by the team. So you had some guys that have left for elevated positions, including Darren Mugi, who's the new general manager over with the Jets. And so I think that there's some change in that. I also think it's a positive that this team is good enough that people want your coaches. That wasn't a problem for a while. No, people were hunting hunting down our roster of coaches to steal one off a 5-12 team. So good news there, all that stuff for sure. With that though, the Super Bowl is around the corner. We'll do our predictions at the end, but last week we talked about kind of what do we think that the Broncos need to do to be a Super Bowl contender? How do they close that gap? So with this, I see a lot of names floated to the Broncos. Essentially, it's kind of a cluster of players. So I really, we talk about just one, maybe talking about some of the rumored or links, not rumored necessarily, but teams that make sense, or players that make sense for the Broncos, and then we'll kind of go through and see how we would fare with the Broncos' current selection at 20 and so on. So some targets that really are getting a lot of run. One, Ashton Genty is right now. It's kind of, and he's linked to like 5 teams. And then he's running back. But that's definitely one I think most people can see the connection there. Tyler Warren, I was on that train in like October.
Yeah.
And of course, I feel like that happens to me. It happened with like Baker Mayfield, Joe Burrow, like all these guys. I'm like, what? Like these are dudes. Jaden Daniels. I was love Jaden Daniels mid-September. And I was like, yeah. And then I need to stop because as I get excited about it, it's like, never mind, they're out of reach. So Tyler Warren, I think, is in that. I don't think Tyler Warren will be in the Broncos, target range. So with that, Colson Loveland from your favorite college program. Okay. A tight end out of Michigan, 6'5", 245, really big, athletic, has good speed, good catch radius. I think a very nuanced route runner. There's one thing at least we can probably agree on with Michigan is they teach you pro style ball. And so he's a guy that has played all over. That said, I don't think he right now is a good point of the attack guy. But so was George Kittle when he came out. He was not very good inline blocker, made himself a good inline blocker. And I think from all of the scouting reports that I've looked at, he's a willing blocker. And I think if you take willing plus good coaching can equal effective. It doesn't need to be dominant in today's game, but we haven't had a really good receiving tight end since Julius Thomas. I mean, Noah Fant was okay. But having a guy that really can dominate the middle of the field, huge Brock Bowers guy, super pissed still. But
yeah, me too.
I think that's a
but was a good pick.
Yeah. Yes, we won, but that's that said, I think really this position and maybe you go D-tackle are really kind of the ones that have been connected to Denver the most. Sometimes a receiver, Luther Burden III was a guy that was connected. And then obviously your guy from Ohio State.
Ibuka.
Yep. I was hoping you should say the whole name. Help me out.
You make a
Mika.
Igbokwe.
Yep. And so good polish route runner. I don't know if he's like a guy that I would want to draft in the first round, and more because for some reason I think if I'm going to draft a number one wide receiver, which you hope that this person goes into, he doesn't seem like a number one to me, like physically, all that kind of stuff. That said, Garrett Wilson isn't a physically imposing receiver out of Ohio State. He's pretty good. Chris Olave wasn't a physically dominant receiver at Ohio State. He's been pretty good. I think we can see kind of so I also wouldn't overthink it. I think Igbokwe would come in and be able to contribute right now. I mean, they produce him there. So I would also say, like, I wouldn't be mad if they got it. I think his floor is wide receiver 2. I think no matter what, he's going to be a contributor. Probably penciled in at wide receiver 3 first day, and he'll kind of move up. Those have been the guys I think that have been linked to Denver the most. Any thoughts that you have kind of about that before we go through the funness of the exercise?
No, I think it's interesting. I think it's good. I think that those would all make sense for Denver. I wouldn't be upset about any of those. I kind of agree with you on Igbokwe. I like a lot of the things he does. I think he's a fantastic route runner. I think that's where he would make his money in the NFL, is being able to run routes. He's smooth. He's athletic. He can catch tough balls in traffic. I don't know that I see him as like a real physical jump ball kind of receiver, but he's going to be a guy that wins with separation. A lot like Terry McLaurin, I think, who's also another Ohio State guy. Kind of sneaky, fast, good at getting that separation. And once you get the ball in his hands, he can make a play. Yeah. So I think he's got.
What? Maybe it's like prospect fatigue a little bit. Maybe that's the.
Yeah, maybe.
And because I think I said it to you before, he's never been the best receiver on his teams at Ohio State.
That's true. Yeah.
That said, you listed Terry McLaurin. I mean, there have been dudes that have been there, and he has thrived. So, not to take it away from him, maybe he's humble and doesn't care who gets the. Actually, I'd probably lean that the most. So, I agree with Cam. Checks off a lot of boxes. Yep. I think he play inside, outside. I think he's a willing blocker. I think he has a pretty nuanced route running tree. I think he comes in kind of ready-made out of the box. Maybe it seems like he's a good leader. I don't know. I don't know.
Think the only thing I'd say is, like, when you're drafting a wide receiver at 20, I think you want it to be a sure top 5 with upside of one wide receiver 1 potential. And I think that Igbokwe has the upside, but I don't think it's a slam dunk, So I think that's probably the hesitancy, is like, there's a lot of good traits. If we're okay taking our first round pick and that being our wide receiver 2 for the foreseeable future, it's probably still a good investment. But it's not quite as that superstar level that you want to hit with your first round pick a lot of times. But when you're picking at 20, you can't overthink it either. You can go boom or bust, I guess, if you want to make a splash. But sometimes the best pick is a safe pick. So if they did it, I wouldn't be upset by any means. But I don't think it's as splashy as people would like for a first round pick.
Yeah, I nailed it. So, what are your thoughts about Get Mocking?
Yeah, let's do it. I did something else too. If you want to, I don't know if let's do the one together. And then, did you bring any? I don't remember if we talked about it or not.
Well, yeah, let's do one. Actually, why don't we do this? Do you have yours available?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't you share it? Let's go through yours, and then let's go from there.
I can't share it because I'm using my phone, but
no,
I can
tell me what you got.
It off to you. So the first one, so I used PFN. I just find it the easiest to use.
Yeah.
And of course, I was looking for a few key guys, Janty, someone like that to fall to 20, and no one was really there that I was super pumped about. So I ended up trading back to the 27 with Baltimore, and got my guy Nick Emanwari, safety out of South Carolina. Still think is my safety number 1 on the board.
I like his game.
Great size, playmaker, guy that can impact both the running game and be stout in the passing game. So a guy that I really liked. Still only still didn't get an additional pick there, but at 51 I took defensive tackle Dion Walker or Dion. I'm not sure if it's Dion or Dion. A big physical defensive tackle, has ability to push the pocket. Someone that I'm kind of intrigued by.
Yeah.
Some of that, and with losing some beef on that front, most likely Walker's someone that you can kind of put in that rotation, I think, and develop, and could be a really good player. Reminds me of kind of the D tackles that you would see, maybe not so much anymore, but kind of the old school Titans defensive tackles that are just big and physical, athletic, and can cause havoc in a backfield. I like him. Then got pick 91. I made another trade with Minnesota, it looks like. Got pick 91. Got Gunnar Helm, tight end out of Texas, big kid, a little rough around the edges, but great size, has some good hands, ability to run some routes. So I was excited to get him, and a good blocker too. So kind of a good mix of pass catching and blocking. Maybe not your top end tight end, but someone who can come in and potentially push in that room for some play time. Got 97 at 97 got DJ Giddens, running back out of Kansas State. Just another solid, I think, pro. I don't know if I'd say pro ready, but someone who fits that kind of that pro mold as far as size and ability goes.
Yeah,
has some breakaway ability. I don't think he's one of your top running backs in this class, but definitely top 10 running back prospect. Someone you could develop and get him into a rotation, can be really effective, depending on your personnel. Then I had pick 121. I took Danny Stutzman, linebacker out of Oklahoma, senior, kind of Josie Jewell-esque, I think, in kind of the comp. If I was to think of someone, not necessarily your most athletic guy, but someone who's got a nose for the ball, who knows how to make plays in the open field, isn't going to get burnt necessarily, but in the running game, maybe a few more question marks in his pass coverage ability. But I don't think you're, taking a step back from a Justin Strinod or something like that if he ends up starting for Alex Singleton, for example. Someone, and usually when you're bringing in a senior guy, they're a little more developed, a little more mature, have some more experience.
Remember that. You remember that.
That's right.
We are more mature.
Right. More mature. Then at 199, I took Xavier Trust. He's an offensive guard out of Georgia. Huge dude, pretty raw, but someone that, with some development could be a depth guy on that offensive line, which is always valuable. And then Tyler Batty, edge out of BYU at 209. Another big, just kind of prototypical size as far as size goes for an edge. I think he's like 6'5", 255, 265, something like that. Raw. When you're getting guys in the 200s, they're going to be developmental guys, but someone who's got some decent upside. And then I walked away with the 2026 Minnesota third round pick. So a little more draft,
more ammo for next year.
Yeah, so something to move with that. So
I
think you addressed some needs. You get a running back, you get a middling tight end prospect, or probably more of a top 7 tight end prospect. That defensive tackle position is going to be vacated, so someone to plug in there and develop in that rotation. I think we need an upgrade at safety. I don't think that's any question that we feel like PJ Locke's a good player, but not a great player. Simon Maury being a potential playmaker at that position would be really nice. So I was happy with that one ultimately.
Not bad. All right. I'll give you mine, and then let's co-op. All right. So I was fortunate enough that my man Ashton Genty was able to fall. No good tight end at that moment. So, my opinion, jumped on the best skill player in the draft. Obviously, a position of need for the Broncos. I think solves so many problems.
Yeah.
Will this happen? But you know what? I gotta play who I gotta play who's on my schedule. I'm gonna pass up Genty in a simulation because maybe he won't actually be there. I then did move back a few spaces from 56 from 51 to 56. Grabbed an extra 4th round pick. With that move back, I got Jihad Campbell, who is a big, athletic, sideline to sideline Alabama linebacker. You know, if you're going to take a swing on a good defender, Alabama's not a good place to pull one from. I think that he has the upside to be a really a plus player on your defense, not just a good player. And I think it's been a while since we really had kind of do it all. You know, I really love Alex Singleton, but I think that there's some guys maybe that can make some more impact plays. I think he's one of them. And then at pick 85, I grabbed TJ Sanders, a good, my opinion, good pass rushing D tackle at South Carolina, has a tremendous length and good motor, extra quickness. I've kind of fallen out of love of this next pick a little bit, but was the best running back also on the board. So I got him at 108 because I wanted running backs. So you know what?
Yeah,
I'm not going to. And then I went and got Terrence Ferguson, who I think is probably going to be a 3rd round pick in this draft. A really good polished, probably one of the best blocking receiving combo. Ja'Cory Brooks, Alabama transfer at receiver. I clicked the wrong button. I wasn't meaning to take Devin Neal also.
Okay. It happens.
But I also would be very good with a Cam Scatterbo, Devin Neal pairing. Or Ashton Genty and a Devin Neal. I think my biggest point, though, is to move with or to being able to come away. I'm always kind of a double dip guy. So if you find in the draft area within the draft or position groups that are, are pretty deep, I think that those are yours to go get 2 because the likelihood that 1 doesn't work is pretty high. So especially the fact that the Broncos need skill position help. You know, if they took 4 guys in those skill positions or 5, mix and match, however you want to do double up, but can never have enough talent. I think if you could pull that here and kind of plan for that past free agency, I think the Broncos are going to get a receiver through free agency. I don't think they're going to draft one early. And so with that, you can really focus on tight end and running back and try and solve the problem for years to come and not just the immediate here and now. So, it wasn't my favorite draft, but I think just in being all, kind of honoring the task at hand, I think it's fruitful. I think a lot of the stuff can line up for the Broncos. So with that, any thoughts, comments before I go to sharing the screen for us to go through one together?
No, let's knock it out.
All right.
I'm interested in Scatterbo, but feels maybe a little redundant with our guy. What's his name?
100%. With Ashton Genty, yeah, absolutely.
No, well, I mean, even with I'm blanking right now. The running back out of Notre Dame from last season.
Oh, Idric Estime.
But I think Scatterbo probably has a little more upside. So
I think he has more. I think he's also a better receiver.
I would agree with that.
A better receiver. So if I'm going to draft anyone early, it's got to be a guy that can catch the ball. But I agree. After doing that draft, I wasn't in love with it. I thought it probably could have went receiver or maybe a playmaker at safety. I really like Eminori. I think he's a phenomenal player, 6'3", like almost 230. I think if you can get one of those hybrid Derwin James, Kyle Hamilton types,
for sure.
Yeah, I think that would be super dope. So without further ado, let's go.
Let's roll.
All right. So here's what we got on the board.
Okay.
And Jalen Walker, again, they list him as a linebacker. I think he's going to be an edge player, which
probably
increases his value, but decreases his need or fit for the Broncos. So sadly, I don't think that that's a guy that I would draft at 20. I for this team, but I would jump all over that if I were the Steelers next or someone else.
Yeah.
Any thoughts about who's on the board that you're really interested in, or do you want to go look at some offers?
I mean, no one that's crazy. I think it's about who I expected to be there. I'm interested in Walker, but again, like you said, it's not necessarily an area of need specifically, though. A good edge is always useful. But yeah, look at the trade offers. Let's see what we got. Anything worth making a move on?
All right, so we can move back to the early second round, grab an early third rounder, and then equivalent to another third with a second in 2026 from a team that probably won't be very good again.
Yeah, that's true.
Another offer, Kansas City or San Francisco, even moving back a little bit more. And then we have one from Philadelphia, essentially move back to 31, picking up a second round pick, and then the next year's second and this year's third kind of cancel out. Wouldn't mind rebuttaling for keeping our third, letting them keep their second and trying for maybe a fourth and seeing if they go for it. Let's see.
Let's try.
Boom.
Hey, I like it.
All right. So here we go. We got an offer to move back to 58 and 55. Yeah. I'm not so a fan of if I'm going to go all the way out of the first round, I want to stay close to the top of the second, not the back. So I am motivated to make a pick at 31.
Same. I'm fine with any of those top three guys, to be honest. I like all of those guys. I'd be okay with Watts. I would maybe even be okay with Omarion Hampton at 31. What are you thinking?
So right now, I think we got 31, 51, 63. Just keep those in mind. So we have two mid to late second round picks. I really like him in Worry. I think he would be phenomenal for this team.
I want him too, so that I want him. So I draft him out in my mock. So
yeah, because I think maybe I really like.
27.
I really like Harold Fannin. I think he's kind of a jack of all trades tight end. So I don't know that I would want to have that be my first round selection. Outside of Genty, I don't feel really good about taking a running back in the first round.
Okay.
You're going to get some other guys, especially because my plan would probably be to get one in the third or fourth round. It would even be okay second round, but third or fourth round, and then getting another one in the sixth or seventh round that maybe either has a different skill set or has a similar skill set and really best man wins kind of thing, right? So, but I'm super good with Eminori. If you are,
I'm good with it. Let's do it.
All right. So now we got Brandon Jones back there. PJ Locke as kind of third safety. You got Eminori, who's a chess piece. So we can move back. Have a couple offers. Xavier Watts being on the board kind of stinks because I would have been okay not getting a safety if I would have known that Watts would have landed here in the second round.
I know, kidding, right?
That said, we can't fix it. But I like Dwayne Walker. I like A.O. Manor. I think if anyone watches or remembers in 2023 playing with Stanford, he gashed the Buffs single-handedly in the second half and
for sure,
and got the Cardinal a win. Harold Fannin, again, I really like him. I think he can do a lot. Line up as H-back, flex, inside, outside. Not really a speed demon, but a guy that is a plus athlete. Trey Harris, 6'2" receiver, was having a really good season, couple injuries down there at Ole Miss, but a good player. And then someone like Landon Jackson, who is a 6'7", 275, 80-pound edge / T end that I could be interested in. Any of these guys that you feel like, that's a good play at 51?
None that I feel like are slam dunks. I like a number of those guys. Obviously, I like Walker. I'm interested in Fannin, but I still have some question marks. He's not he's a little bit undersized. I think he's only 235. So he reminds me of a big wide receiver as opposed to a true tight end. So I would be interested to see how they would use him in Sean Payton's offense. I am actually pretty intrigued by Landon Jackson just from a size perspective. I think he could play on the Broncos defensive line at that size and be impactful. I don't know if it's the best fit though. So I'm a little wide open on this, and I might defer to what you think. I'm interested in Trey Harris. I think he's a good prospect, given if he's healthy. But I'm not like so in love with anyone that I feel like we have to take him now. How are you feeling about it?
I'm feeling, I mean, quasi similar. I really like those. I like Walker. I think Jackson and Walker, they're built different. Landon Jackson is a little bit more streamlined as an edge player. Walker is a massive, massive human with plus athleticism. I don't know that that's a good fit for VJ's defense. It's really kind of one gap. I think he's the guy that you want over traditionally over the nose to occupy multiple. So I like it. I don't know that that would be a good fit for us here. I actually would be. I would be open
to trades.
Yeah, I'd be open to moving back and taking this deal.
Okay. Let's do it.
Or would you want essentially? Yeah, no. I think taking this one, next year's 4th for this year's 3rd, moving back 10.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Right, let's do that. So he's on the board still. Boom. So I think with this, I would feel pretty good now actually about taking Fannin this late because I think you can add some other ones. I also think Trey Harris bringing in a receiver right now would be a pretty solid play. What's your thoughts? Anything that you would want us to take a look at?
I'd lean Harris probably over Fannin. But we got to pick in 2 picks, so let's see. Maybe Fannin will be there, and we get both of them.
Boom. Let's check it out. All right, so we have an option. Move back 8. Move back a lot. Not really a fan of moving back all the way into a round. The next options, if we're interested in tight ends, Gunnar Helm, and then Arroyo. Again, I would be a fan of you get someone like Fannin. And get someone like Ferguson who can help contribute like a blocker. But I'd be game for Fannin. I think I'm excited to see what Peyton would do with a guy that can do a lot.
Let's do it.
All right.
I say we dig Fannin.
All right. So we got we have a receiver and a tight end along with a playmaking safety. Now we need
look at that. Look at my guys right there.
Lines up like perfecto. I really like Jalen Royals. I think he'll be a good player. That said, I think we only really have room for our receiver on this team.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think Trayvon Henderson is a slam dunk.
Yeah, I think we take Travion. I don't know that we need to overtalk it. I do like Norman Lott. I actually drafted him in one of my other drafts. He'd be my other guy that I'm interested in. But you need a running back. Travion Henderson's got game breaker speed. I think you take him.
Yeah. So right now we got pick 85. So we are up again. And then we have a couple in the 4th and 3 more in the 6th. So I think we can add some depth here. We could look at moving up if we needed to. But right now, we've gotten our running back, our tight end, our receiver. I think we knew we needed defensively. We got a kind of a hybrid safety, which I'm pretty excited about. Now, I think with this, I really like Norman Lott also. I think he is a good pass rush run rate. Is 310. So I think a guy that can play, closer to the center, or you can push him out. So I really like that. I also don't think you can have enough corners. So Zay Alexander, I think, is a pretty good player.
I agree.
Or we can look at, Gunnar Helm if we want a bigger kind of inline style tight end to go with our jack of trades. What's your thought?
I would go Norman Lott. I think that he is a guy that I'm most interested in there. I think he's got high ceiling potential. I think he's a guy that if you develop him right and give him opportunities, he's going to develop into a good pass rusher at the defensive tackle position too. So I love defensive tackles that have that ability to push up the middle. I think he's one that can do that. So I would definitely go Norman Lott.
Yep, love it. All right, so as we move through, kind of, I think we've fared pretty well in our first 3 rounds. Now pick 121, kind of dead center in the 4th round. I think we have some flawed but some very interesting prospects.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's how
I would
usually
take this one, but I really like Jared Ivey out of Ole Miss, like 280-pound kind of traditional and 6'6". But I think when you get a D tackle, I don't know that that's where I would want to put a ton of my resources back in. I think the Broncos are pretty set with Ellis and Tillman as their backup edges. I think maybe bringing a project in would be good, but I don't know if I'd use a draft pick on one right now. We got a safety, we got a receiver, we got a running back. This team does need linebackers. Don't think you get enough corners. So any thoughts about kind of who's left on the board and anyone that excites you? Again, we go down a little bit. We got Chase Lund, tackle out of UConn, who played pretty well this year. I think, put himself on the draft map. Broncos haven't drafted a tackle since Garrett Bowles, 2017. So, or Lander Barton, who is Cody Barton's younger brother. Tall, thinner linebacker, but kind of a more of a today's style box. Thoughts?
I actually don't mind Lander Barton there. I think that there are some positives there. I don't know that he's strong enough to play to shed blocks and whatnot in the NFL, but that's something that you can develop. Strength is something that you get in the weight room, and if you put on a few pounds of muscle, and it's something that you can overcome with training. I like Kobe Bryant. Actually, I think that he's a good cover corner. He's got nice long arms, so I think that gives him an edge using his length to his advantage, especially when he's pressing. Good at tracking the ball. He's someone that I have on my list of kind of guys I'm interested in. Still want to do more research on him, but he's someone that I like too. So I'd be good with either of them, and I'd be open to any other argument too.
Yeah. I really, unless you really wanted to fortify the front 7 or your front 4, including the edges, front 5, I think Lander Barton would be the play here.
Okay.
I think we've kind of missed our run a lot on linebackers. I really do like Demetrius Knight from South Carolina, but
there's some guys that are interesting, but no one that's a slam dunk is for sure.
All right, Lander Barton, you're done.
Let's go.
Bam. All right. So some additional names. I really like Ricky White, receiver from UNLV. Ollie Gordon, who I think was probably a 2nd round pick if he came out last year, has fell. So there's that. I also I really like Elijah Roberts and Jordan Birch. I think Jordan Birch is a move everywhere player, 266, like 295. So I think that would be great. Arondé Gadsden the 2nd, if you remember that name, his dad played in the NFL. He's a bigger move tight end, but essentially we have that now that we drafted Fannin. So I think his specific skill set, not a burner. He's a big dude who can't block yet. So I don't think he's a guy that I'd want to take around there. Billy Bowman is a smaller but very smart playmaking safety. I think Emin Warrior kind of cancels out our need for that. So I wouldn't mind looking at or bringing in additional front line. Like I said, I liked with Jared Ivey. I kind of liked opportunity to bring a guy with some edge who could stand up. That's a bigger guy if you needed to really get set in the edge, but also could play with his hand in the dirt if he needs to. So I really like Birch. I think Elijah Robertson's a good player, but I think Birch is a guy that brings more versatility to the defense.
Yeah. I would probably lean Birch right now. However, I just got to throw it out there. Would you be opposed to taking an offensive tackle? Because I think Chase Lunt has some.
I would not. I think that
he could. I think he could be a good insurance policy for McClinchy. They're a lot similar size-wise. I think Lunt's 6'8", like 305, something like that. Good run blocker. Probably not the best pass blocker in the draft, but I think that he's got some upside, at least as a depth guy, or a guy that can come in a pinch and really give you something, as opposed to just being a placeholder, or can kind of pick up where someone leaves off. So, I mean, really, you're drafting him. He's not going to have any value on the inside of the line, so you're really just drafting him to be a right tackle. So the versatility is not there as it would be with some other guys, but just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to it. My worry with drafting a guy like in the 4th round, essentially, he's only really going to be a right tackle. I think you got to have a guy that can swing, or that you feel good moving in. I think at 6'8", I don't know if I'd feel really good about him playing guard.
Right, exactly.
So
then I say we go Burks.
Yeah, cool. I like your idea, though. I think if we can look in, we got some depth coming in our 3 6th-round picks. See what's kind of left.
Yeah, and again, our offensive line's pretty set as is. So you're definitely looking for depth pieces,
right?
For our high upside pieces. So don't hate it. Just wanted to play devil's advocate.
Yep. No, I agree. I would really love to look at the offensive line, seeing if there's kind of anyone. I like Xavier Truss. I think he's a big guy. I like Joshua Gray, former tackle, moved inside already in college. So I think a guy with some flexibility. I don't know anything or much about Isis Waxter, but I do know he's a good physical specimen, 6'2", I think like 215, 6'1", 215. But I, again, want to bring in multiple running backs. So this is where I would advocate, again, for Devin Neal, who I think will probably be like a 3rd or 4th round pick. If you're a CU fan, you saw what he's capable of. Ran 3 in and caught a screen pass for 8 yards. So I think he's a guy that can come in and contribute right now. I think a lot of the guys that are left on this list are really coming in to compete for depth, but I think Devin Neal would probably push a guy like Audric Estime off your roster.
I think so too. I'm good with that. It is doubling down on kind of that running back position, but again, this running back room needs a facelift. So bringing in young talent isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah. And now I think now would be a good opportunity to look at some offensive line depth.
Yeah.
So Dalton Cooper, Oklahoma State. Jalen Rivers is a big dude too. At guard, again, we have Truss, we have Gray. Trust Willie Lampkin because it says he's 5'10", 270. Maybe that's
that's an interesting one. There must be. I haven't seen him play I've heard his name, but I've not seen him play. So it makes me wonder what the upside is there with a guy who's so a lot smaller than your prototypical offensive lineman.
Yeah, let me go check it. Let me go do some research. Hold on, really quick. Hold on. Let's see. He's short. Yep.
Yeah,
by short, I mean he's 5'11", 285. Yep. And
you'd say that's probably both short and light for the NFL. So you would definitely it's definitely a project.
Yeah. Okay. And well, that's probably not going to work. But yeah. Let's see. Do either any of the tackles resonate, or a guy like Xavier Truss or Josh Gray? I like
Truss is big. He's got some upside. I think I would probably go Truss in this scenario for going offensive line, just because I think Andy's from a pro style program in Georgia that turns out these prospects. So he's been coached up to a degree. So I would probably lean that direction.
Yeah, me too. Like you said, he was a top prospect coming out of high school. 4-star recruit.
Yeah.
And is 6'7", 320. So again,
Big for a guard.
Big boy. So I think with our last pick at 209, I wouldn't be opposed to taking Curtis Work. Developmental QB, always a fan of being in that business.
Sure.
Also wouldn't mind taking RJ Oben, but we already grabbed an edge. And then I don't know much about Elijah Badger, but I would be open to maybe an additional skill player somewhere in here. But
yeah,
what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think at this point you're taking guys that you think can push to be on a roster or special teams guys. Again, or like you said, kind of a developmental quarterback is not necessarily a bad pick. I don't know that I would pick one right now, just because you're probably bringing back one of the two guys that we had last year in Stidham or Wilson. You could bring in an additional guy and hope that they eventually turn into a backup, but you're not really looking for any top end guy. So I don't know. I'm not feeling strongly about anyone at this point. And part of it is just I've got some more research to do too. We could make a fun pick and just take Shiloh Sanders and hope for the best for him.
We could. I was going to make an argument actually for Noah Williams.
Or like a LeJounte Wester, if like LeJounte Wester still out there or something like that.
Oh,
a wide receiver that's got.
I like that. All right. Let's do this.
Yeah.
LeJounte Wester or Will Shepherd.
Probably if I'm thinking out of those two, I'd probably take Shepherd. I'd probably take Shepherd.
If you were to take one, so if we were taking out of those two, you'd want Shepherd?
Yeah, I just think physically he's got a more pro ready style and body, so that's who I would go.
Yeah. All right. That's who we're going. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna wrap up here un momento. Let us know how you think we did. We did great, just for if you want to say so, but
save that and throw it on the Twitter feed.
Definitely appreciate you. I will kick it back to you for the outro.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys being here. We'll put the pick of the mock up on the Twitter feed in case you weren't able to see it or weren't able to catch the show today, but we appreciate you regardless. Stick with us. We went a little over today, but we appreciate you guys being patient and doing this with us. We love the draft, so we're going to continue to pull out best outs and draft coverage. But thank you. Again, we appreciate you. And remember, if you need a sports prescription, ask a doctor.
Hey,
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flame out. So high, I might never come down, so what? This is my lifestyle. Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the